Hi there, Renaud Joran here, and I'm going to cover the topic of, on the one hand, selling on Amazon and having relatively high customer expectations in terms of quality, and on the other hand, working with manufacturers in China, Vietnam, and other such countries, and actually how to inspect their product quality and give them feedback if it's actually not acceptable for your customers, so that it doesn't come back and bite you and you don't get your account suspended. Well, that's what we're going to cover in this video. Hi, today we're going to cover this topic in this video. Amazon customers don't want defects, but how can you do random inspection based on the AQL to actually catch the problems before they leave the factory? And does it actually make sense? Well, first, if you are a FBA seller, fulfillment by Amazon seller, you cannot tolerate a lot of defects. Okay, it is expected for most inexpensive consumer goods made in China, in Vietnam, in Indonesia, in India, in Pakistan, and so on, to have, let's say, 1 to 3% of bad products. On Amazon, it can be a disaster. It can be a disaster. Maybe you get 20% of one-star ratings if you get to this problem, and you might actually get your account suspended, right? This is what Amazon says. This is their official rules, right? Failure to meet these targets may result in the removal of your selling privileges. They might actually freeze your account. So I'm assuming you're an FBA seller. Okay, there's three very common issues. Product quality, this is what we're covering here in this video. Packing and labeling, that's very, very important. You need to really conform to their requirements, and all kinds of issues also with logistics. Okay, here we're going to cover only product quality. Well, it can actually lead you out of business. You know, this one or this one or this one, all these kinds of problems. As I wrote, your account can get suspended. And also it's costly because you need to send some replacement products, right? Now, is it helpful? Okay, does it mean if you say I set an AQL limit at 2.5% for major defects, does it mean you're actually authorizing the supplier to produce 2% or 2.5% of defects? Not exactly, right? The standard says it very clearly. The limit does not suggest it's desirable, okay? It's not designed to encourage supplier to have high defect rates. Now, the problem with that is that suppliers in a lot of countries and in a lot of product categories especially consider that it's normal. There are going to be defects, right? You cannot, as the buyer, say I want 100% defect-free products. Suppliers are going to look at you with round eyes. That's just the reality for a lot of consumer goods especially. All right, so how to do? Maybe the AQL is not such an effective tool. Well, there are alternatives. One alternative is what they call acceptance on zero. It's not common for consumer goods. It's not common, so your suppliers probably never heard of this. But we have another video on this to explain how it works. But basically, the sampling size is lower. There's fewer samples to check, and the limits are lower too. Well, the limit is always zero, actually. Much lower. Okay, it's very common in the auto industry, in aerospace, and some other verticals. Okay, now the problem is what happens. If you find some serious issues, you reject, and then what? You go and look for a new supplier. You have them reproduce the products. It's not very realistic most of the time, right? And really, if you don't have the time to do all this, you really need these products, there's a little game, the supplier will say, okay, I'm going to sort out the products again, and then you send an inspector again, and then the inspector finds that there's not much improvement, and then you go into reinspection and reinspection, reinspection. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Some clients had to do these kind of things, and we had to say, no, this really does not make sense, okay? And at one point, you just need to let the supplier ship, but this needs to go up to a business discussion. Don't just do inspection and say, no, this is rejected, you have to go again for another inspection. No, you have to understand this is really not acceptable at another level, okay? Another alternative is the 100% inspection. We do that in our facility for some Amazon customers. However, it's not that common, okay? The good thing is if there are defects, they will likely be caught. The bad thing is it's very labor intensive and it's relatively expensive. So really, if I want to give you a few rules of thumb, I mean, the most important thing is for you as the FBA seller, as the buyer of these products, you need to think of risk. So what kind of products do you make? Do you buy and do you sell? What do your customers actually expect? Maybe it's just a pack of cheap accessories that are given away and there's not going to be many complaints, right? So that's fine. The standard random sampling AQL inspections are going to be fine. However, if your users think it's an expensive item and they really do not expect any kind of imperfection, and they will not be happy if they find some problems, and they will complain or they will send you send the product back for replacement, then you have a problem. If you have a 3% defect rate, they will notice there's a lot of returns and complaints. You will run into trouble. That's where you need to think of an acceptance of 0 on 0 plan or a 100% inspection, or go for another manufacturer that can produce at the right quality standard. That's it. I hope it's helpful. I hope I sort of made sense. There is a contradiction. That's a problem depending on what your customers actually expect and tolerate, right? And you might have to go away from these very standard types of random inspections. Thank you.